Hi, Alex.
Hi, Betty. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank
Good.
you for this opportunity.
Good. So, Alex, tell us about you.
Hmm, that could be a long answer.
It could.
um, well, most people, as you know me, most people know me as being an instructional designer, what I do for work, how I earn my living, and being very passionate about learning and learning experiences. And besides that, I'm a Venezuelan boy
Mm,
that came to the States when I was 14 and experienced a whole interesting loot of changes and experiences in life that really tested my core and tested my ability to adapt to
mm-hmm,
environments.
mm-hmm. And you were in the military, right?
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So at the at the ripe age of 24, I decided to. I had an interesting part of my life. I was working. I think there's a ton of background here to cover. So first of all, being Latino and born in technically what it was a third world country, and now definitely is a third world country. Um, it was 14 years of growing up in an environment where it was a survival environment, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. So
Mm-hmm,
good thing because really you get exposed to many elements that today people would consider to be post post traumatic stress syndrome type things. But
mm-hmm,
uh, education was always a big thing for my parents, right? So my parents always pushed that from the beginning. Go to school, get an education, get an education. So I mean, from an early age, I was always a good instruction follower, like a good, okay, that's the goal, that's what we're gonna do. And when I was 24, I have been, I've been 6 years out of high school, and I was, um, I was working two jobs, and I was living by myself. I was having a great time, right?
I bet.
Single life, the deal.
Uh-huh.
Well, do you remember that? Yeah, yeah. You remember those days? so
Mm-hmm,
anyway, so it's I went. I had no knowledge of things. I had no. I don't want to say understanding because you know how I feel about understanding. I had no knowledge of the resources available to me,
mm-hmm,
and I really had no guidance at that time because my parents in a way sort of abandoned me in different areas, right? So when I was 12, my mom had to come to the States, so I was left with my dad. And then when I was 16, my dad left from the States to go back to Venezuela.
mm,
And so it was a pivotal moment in my life where he gave me a choice. He said, "Hey, I'm gonna go back. Are you coming or this and that?" And that's when we tie back to the whole thing of the mission and the goal, right? So from my perspective, I mean, I didn't have a great relationship with him to begin with. In terms of it was a it was ambivalent in some ways because there was some issues there to cover family wise. But the thing that came in my head was, okay, I need to get an education. I need
mm-hmm,
to like finish, further my education. And at that point, I already had gone, had come to the States, come back again. So it was the second back in the States, and he's going back, and I'm going, nope. I gotta finish. I don't want to mess up my school. I already
mm-hmm.
lost a year when I came here because you don't speak the language. They put you back a year, type of thing. So that decision was a big decision. So when I was 24, I've been working two jobs. I've been having a lot of fun,
Mm,
but there was no future in sight. There was
mm-hmm.
no okay. Am I gonna still be doing this when I'm 40? Nah. Like logging, bellboy and stuff like that, moving luggage, and I mean, like I said, having fun,
Mhm.
working hard but having fun. And so that's when I saw. Well, this is a funny story. I don't know if you have time for this, but I saw. I saw a commercial for the Marines. Back in the day,
Yeah.
it's 97, 90. So the Marine commercials, hey, this and that, get into education. Like most people, a lot of people go to the military. This is before, 9/11, of course. A lot of people go to the military because of the
Sure. Yeah.
college financing.
Was it the few, the proud, the Marines? Is that
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
was a
The
commercial?
few,
Yeah.
the proud, the Marines,
Uh-huh.
and get your education with a GI Bill, blah blah blah. Right? So I'm like, oh, I need to further my education. At the time, also, I was a resident, alien status,
Okay. Yeah.
and uh, like I said, I lacked knowledge and information. So I was navigating this college world by myself. I, I mean, I can begin to tell you that, like, the person that I am today, or the person that the military helped me to be as well, it's a 180 in many respects to where I was. So I
Mhm.
was ignorant, meaning, I had no knowledge, I had no know-how, or even the drive to find what were the opportunities. And so for school, for example, I was there's so many cultural contrasts that you got to think about that people don't realize, right? So like when you went to school here, you got books from the high school, right?
Right.
That
Right.
doesn't happen in other countries.
Mm.
In other countries, you got to buy your books. You have to buy all your supplies. Basically, the school is a shell, and you just go to the school to get the class. But everything else you're purchasing,
Mhm.
all the books and everything else. So when I got here, they were just giving the book. You sign it and you take it home. And I was like, what? This is this is fantastic. It's like Disney World, right? For everybody else, it's just the normal stuff. For me, it's like, oh my god, it's amazing. They're giving you the books, they're giving you all the stuff. They got the driver's ed courses, they got the athletic things. Oh, this is awesome, right? And when I was going to community college, which now is a full college, Miami Dade College,
Mm.
wrap up on the 305. What's up? Um, the Those guys. I was doing a associates of arts or something, an associate degree,
Sure.
communication and journalism, and it took me 5 years. Now the reason why it took me 5 years, right, is because I was not playing the game. I was just going like, oh, I can take this class and I'm getting a check. Oh, this is awesome. Oh, I can take this
Oh.
class and I'm getting a
Mhm.
check. Oh, this is amazing. So I was taking French, I was taking Italian, I was taking all these optionals. And I remember one time I met with the student advisor and he's like, dude, are you ever going to graduate? Because you only need to take this one class. I'm like, what? Oh, really? Okay. So, yeah, I mean, things like that. Where then there was a law passed or something where they cut that financing, they called that stuff out. You needed to be a citizen. So
Mm.
that's what took me out of college, took me out of the thing. And again, I'm 24 and I'm going, okay, what's going to happen? So I told my mother, I told my mother at the time. She was living in Houston with my cousin, who is a renowned pathologist, right? She's like the top, top dog in the whole family in terms of progress. Um, hey, I'm going to the Marines. So they almost had a heart attack, right? They're like, what? No, no, no.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right. So I started thinking about it, and I always had that connection. Was like, okay, I don't want to. I got to think about this. And incidentally, I went to eat a meal somewhere, and next door there was a Navy
Mm.
recruiting office. So I stepped in there, and then the story, I ended up being a hospital corpsman attached to Marine Corps units for 6 years.
6 years. And
Yeah,
where were you were deployed?
yeah, yeah. So I joined 1998. Went to boot camp over there, Great Lakes, over in Chicago, north of Chicago,
Uh-huh.
somewhere. And I got stationed with the 3rd Battalion, 6th Marines, which is also an interesting experience. So it's a
Uh,
very unique experience again because you join the Navy. When we say Navy, you would think
you're on the
ships.
like yeah, you're on
You
the
know,
ocean, right?
you're in a ship. You're always on a ship in the ocean. So, well, there are a bunch of jobs in the Navy that not necessarily do that, and the Navy folks shift between what is called shore duty and sea duty. So
Okay,
shore duty would be working in a hospital or working in a base, and sea duty being out on a ship, and the ship becomes your home. Well, interesting enough, with the Marines, you're doing all the things the Marines are doing.
hmm,
You're shooting out with them. You're doing all the stuff because you're their medical support. You're their medical. You're their doc, as they say.
sure,
And then you go with the Marines. Well, the Marines get on ships. So the Marines get on ships. Well, at the time, before 9/11, there was like 7 months at 6 months at a time. That was the
sure,
usual thing.
yeah,
And 9/11 changed everything, of course. But uh, then I had to play the game of being recognized by Navy personnel that were not green, what we call the green Navy. So it took like about 2 months.
yeah,
Right about the third month, people were going, "Oh, that guy. He's a Navy guy. He's
yeah,
not a Marine." Yeah,
yeah, because that's a thing.
it
Uh,
is a thing.
the
Yeah.
categories are important.
Yes, I
Um,
imagine you feel like you belong nowhere, right?
right,
In some respect.
right. So, where were you deployed to?
Uh, so on a regular basis, you will go depending on what fleet you are. So I was in the on the East Coast side here, the Mediterranean and whatnot. I you go usually you go 6 months and you go and go through the Mediterranean. You go to different countries and you do exercises.
Mm,
On this year is a special year for me. Um, a lot of memories come back.
yeah,
It's been 20 years, and so sorry. In 9/11, of course, everybody remembers where they were in 9/11.
hmm,
One thing I remember is that it happened 2 weeks before my birthday. Exactly, right? So it was it was such a. I mean, it's a very drastic experience. Of course, 9/11 was 9/11. Of course, we lost people and all that stuff. But you got to realize at that point, I've been trained. I've
hmm,
been trained. We have been trained. We have been ready. We have been. Um, there's nobody better than us when we train. Than,
sure,
So, and what that means is you're training, and the difference is that when shit goes down, you are acting,
right.
right? So you are acting, and you're putting things in motion. It's not a, oh, where is the LMS, or no, it's not on shit, right? So, um, I was actually pulling dental records because we were getting ready to go anyway to do one of those 6 months floats, as we call them, and so I was just pulling medical records out of the dental clinic. So this dental clinics are full of Marines in Camden, Camden, North Carolina. Big ups to Camden, the home of strip clubs and tattoo parlors and car dealers.
Yes. Hmm.
Those are the three services that you know.
Like most American cities.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, um, well, today, yeah. So, so the in the clinic, these clinics are very loud, right? Because it's full of Marines. So it's just full of Marines. They're just talking,
Yeah.
and I'm pulling dental records, just checking, doing my regular job, which is getting these dental records and cases, so we can put them on the ship and get ready to go. Uh, One of the collateral duties that I had, and actually I got an award for it, was getting the dental readiness up to like 99% for the battalion. Because believe it or not, many of the casualties or many of the medical evacuations in Vietnam were actually dental issues.
Mm.
So not having dental readiness. So all I remember is I was pulling dental records, and all of a sudden everything went quiet.
Mm.
You know, it's just big silence everywhere, and the only thing you can hear is a faint sound of the TV. So as I looked, as I turned around and kind of walked in the hallway and looked back to the main room, I was seeing the second plane hit,
Mhm.
and at that moment, immediately at that moment, I knew we're on, right? So we were actually, it was interesting because we're supposed to deploy on my birthday. So we're supposed to deploy, actually get on the ship and go on my birthday. My wife, we at that time, we have been married now for a year, and so we knew that, and that was going to happen. But then this happened, and she worked in the base with me. She worked in the base related to me, but on the shores duty side, let's say, right? She had a clinic, another clinic. So, well, what turned out to be is that we left 7 days later. So we
Mm.
left on the 18th at a Moorhead, and and we just got on the ships, and there was a lot of knowing what we were going to do and not knowing what we were going to do,
Sure.
and so that's what happened. And yeah, around a lot of what we did was actually in the beginning was just sitting around, support, training, continuing to train, and all this stuff.
Waiting until they call you up.
Yeah, and then November, a week before Thanksgiving. So think about all the holidays you enjoy as a civilian.
Hmm.
A week before Thanksgiving or something like that, we went in we went inland,
And where did you go?
Pakistan, and then from Pakistan to Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And most of the time was spent in Kandahar, which is an airport city with an interesting airport.
Okay.
It looked like the Justice League building from the old
Oh,
school
all right.
cartoons. Yeah, if you look it up, the old school cartoons and the Kandahar airport is of that Justice League. Just check it out. It's
Okay.
really weird.
How long were you
Yeah.
in Afghanistan and Pakistan?
It was about 4 months. So it was 4 months, but it was we were the second unit there. So first the Pacific Fleet guys, Marines went there. I think it was 511 or something like that.
Hmm.
And they went in there, and I mean, you have bomb craters everywhere around the airport. You had all these different things, and it was a time of adaptation and change and all that stuff. And um, I'm still in connection with all the guys that were there with me,
Yeah.
and we lost people, and yeah, and it's just what we do. But I mean,
Hmm.
there are memories also that you will cherish forever. So,
Sure. Anything else you want us to know about you or your time in the military?
um, no, I mean, about me, you know what I do today, and what I've been doing for the last 10 years, really help people
Yeah.
do what they need to do, and have at least half of the drive that you can develop when you go through the military,
Hmm.
so you can have that success, that sense of achievement.
Yeah.
And that's the passion today. I mean, that's what happens. But
Yes.
the main thing I want to tell people is, look, June was also post traumatic stress disorder awareness month,
Mhm.
and there are a lot of wounds people don't see. So you don't have to you don't have to see a missing limb to know that there are some things that are endured
Sure.
when you come back from any situation. This happens to first responders as well.
Yeah.
Here, we here in Orlando, we had the massacre on the Pulse Club that happened in
Yeah.
June. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, before we even go for any further, I just want to say thank you so much for your service, and thank you so much for sharing that story with us. That wasn't the plan, but it worked out quite nicely, I think. I appreciate your vulnerability.
yeah,
So let's kind of move back. We'll move back to the imposter syndrome stuff. So all right, so you've told us a little bit about you. What would you say are some of your biggest accomplishments in life or in work? I know we talked a little bit about your service. What other big accomplishments would you highlight?
yeah. So, I mean, I think you have to accomplishments have both a personal level, a personal lens, and a public lens, right? And so, I think accomplishments that really matter are your personal
Mm,
lens accomplishments. I mean, people recognize you and what you do. That's great, but you have to be happy yourself with the things that you're achieving, and that's what makes a difference. So, learning experiences in which you are achieving are much more rewarding and significant, right? Than just learning experiences where you're just completing a certificate.
mm-hmm,
So that's where, in terms of my achievements so far, and that's in the keywords there, right? So far, it's because with with imposter syndrome, there's not enough, right?
mm-hmm,
So, and it could be a good thing, and it could also be a detrimental thing. So you have to keep a balance with this. But in terms of achievements, obviously, education has been an achievement.
mm-hmm,
After you're educated, in my case, right? So after you're educated, now you realize that, okay, you were part of a machine that is business driven,
mm-hmm,
that is not really invested in people's futures, or it is, but not in its whole, and therefore it needs to change, right? It needs to modify things so it could actually give people more value than what it's producing. So, but it's one of those things, like just like governments that are authoritarian, right? So like
mm-hmm,
socialist or communist governments, they thrive because they thrive on ignorance, right? They thrive on people not being educated, not
mm-hmm,
knowing their resources, way outs, and stuff like that. So in this situation, it's the same. So once I became educated, now to master's degrees, I have a master's degree in training and development or education to begin with, and a master's degree in leadership studies. And then besides that, certifications, CPTD, CTT plus, all that good stuff. So those are achievements in the sense of supporting what I've been able to do, and the stories. But I think in terms of personal achievements, of course, your children are
mm-hmm,
just for people that don't that choose not to have kids. Um, that there's no you're making another human being, right? Like not making it, but I'm saying developing another human
mm-hmm,
being.
mm-hmm,
You're part of a life of another human being, and it teaches you so many things. So you're missing those learning opportunities, missing those learning experiences. It also teaches you to step aside from yourself, and I mean, the achievement in life is to find yourself so you can be available for others.
Mhm.
So that's been a journey.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of achievements for me, that's been that, and obviously the academy has been a big achievement
Yeah.
only because of the pleasure of working with you first,
Oh.
um, the meeting you and being friends with you, and but but it's the ability to help people change their lives.
Yeah.
They're changing their lives. They're the smiles, the reassurance. It's a multiplier of what you usually get in your job as a learning professional, right? Because you get the aha moments. That's great, but this is more. This is so much more. You're getting people to get to know each other, to help each other. So that's been a great opportunity. And the only
Mm.
reason why the Academy exists is because I'm a systems guy, right? So yeah, I'm a people guy, but I'm also a systems guy. So I'm thinking, okay, I can't help 50 people by myself, one by one by one.
Right.
I can help 500 people at one time by all of them going in one place and having the resources and having the community. So
Yeah.
that's where we are right now. And today we are almost at 1,000 people. So
That's amazing.
yeah,
That's
it's
that's
awesome.
definitely an accomplishment, something to be really proud of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But education's been that the presence in social media, the the recognition, the being published, and as a contributor author in many places.
Mhm.
Those have been great achievements. And at the same time, you're going, okay, but why don't you have your own book, right?
Mhm.
So now that's the conversation. Like, why do you have your own book?
Yeah.
And so my problem is I'm a procrastinator,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
but I'm also creative.
Same.
So
Same.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, and that leads us right into the next question, which is sort of what has been your experience with imposter syndrome? Because I've talked about this in other sessions. Procrastination is a huge symptom of imposter syndrome. So, what? Tell us about your experiences with that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the main thing about it is, to me, imposter syndrome is an inner voice.
Mm,
You know, it's it's like an alter ego. Um, and I always think of it like back, the cartoons back in the day. They always put like a little angel on the shoulder and a
yes.
devil on the
Yes.
other side, right?
Right.
So
Right. 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 Hmm.
so that imposter syndrome can actually be any of those depending on the context, but usually it's the devil, the little devil, right? And I think it also stems from your. I think you have to dig deep into your childhood
Mm,
and the experiences, your experiences as a child growing up. um, I came. I mean, at the time I didn't realize it or do anything like that, but I came from an abusive home, So it was a cycle that could be another achievement, I guess.
mm,
It's a cycle that I broke in my family, where, and I guess it's the times too. So we have to put things in context. My dad was born in 1942, and I was born in '73. So back then things were a little different,
they were.
uh, or a lot different than what we have today, and especially the movement that started in the '90s, where I guess psychology had moved along, and parents were more forgiving of their kids or supporting and all that stuff, right?
Hmm.
So when I was growing up, I mean, I first of all there was domestic abuse, and when you witness that as a child, that's you tend to take the blame of that.
Hmm.
So the you have to look back because also there's the parenting voice, right?
Sure.
So whatever that parenting voice is what usually, to me, it feels familiar. It sounds like that's what my IS sounds like,
Mm,
right? So sometimes it could be very critical or something like that. And I guess back for Gen Xers, right?
mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm a Gen Xer. There was always this story that we make fun of all the time, right? Like people are super successful. They ask the question like, "So what was the thing that made you successful?" Right? Oh, my dad told me I wasn't gonna amount to anything,
Uh-huh.
right? That
Yeah.
one thing. Like, yeah, my dad told me I wasn't gonna amount. So that person became successful to tell, to show their parents this and that. I didn't have that problem, but my problem was that um, my dad, had a brother who was really good in baseball.
Hmm.
I mean, he was like a superstar in baseball, and if he would have been born here, he would have been in the leagues, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad was passionate about baseball, super passionate about baseball, even to the fact that he's written like 3 books on it in Venezuela, which is not an easy thing to do.
Mm.
And he's written books about it, and and I mean, he was dedicated to my brother on that. And so I come from that background, right? My brother then gets some story that I heard was he got hit in the head with a rock or something. Somebody threw a
Mm.
rock at him or something like that, which is it's normal stuff over there. Um, Somebody threw a rock at him, and he had a retinal detachment, so he lost
Oh,
sight. He
yeah.
lost sight of it.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, he lost sight of his left eye. So after that, there was no way that he was going to be. They tried to play, but he wasn't going to be able to do so. And my dad he lost his marbles on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, there were even stories I heard that he found who the family was, and he was burned a car, something like that. I don't know.
Oh
I mean,
boy.
so I'm growing up, as a kid, and I'm hearing stories. It's their narratives, right?
Sure, sure, sure,
So
sure.
they all have an agenda, um, and it's an interesting thing that people need to find out too, because not many people are aware. Like Americans born here, all this, you know, you're not aware of many different things. For example, you're not aware that many kids born in all those countries, uh, they always grow up and they're giving narratives that don't paint the United States as a friendly
Mm.
nation. Right? So I was raised with those stories, with those narratives of yeah, the Yankee imperialism and blah 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 blah, all this stuff. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
some of that you can find evidence that
Some they're not that far
maybe
off.
it's not far off,
Yeah.
but I mean, to tell a kid that is wrong, right? So like to raise a kid and shape that mind that way,
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
my eyes, is wrong. So for me, it was more of an objective appreciation because yeah, you're telling me this and this and that, but then I come here, I go, the first trip was like I was 6, went to Disney, came here to Orlando. I'm pretty sure came to Miami and then to Orlando, and I'm looking at the people, and I'm looking at the streets, and I'm looking at the cars, and I'm looking at the organization, the society, right? And to me, it seems, first of all, the streets are clean, people follow instructions,
Mm-hmm.
traffic laws, everything, there's order. That's not what you have in Venezuela.
Mm.
That's not what you have in many countries. So, in my 6-year-old mind, okay, I'm walking down the street to go visit my grandparents in Miami, and I have to say I have like a tricultural background. So my mom is Cuban, my grandparents were Cuban exiles from the regiment over in Cuba, And my dad's Venezuelan, and I was born in Venezuela. And then I came here at 14, became a citizen, all that good stuff. After a while, trust me,
Mhm.
I joined the military. I wasn't a citizen. So uh, the I'm looking at a different country. I'm looking at different things. I'm not seeing what is being painted for me,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So I'm
This
like,
is not the same, right?
so I was like, I want to live here. Like this is the way, the people seem great. This is, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to. That back there is not the cool thing. So anyway, I did that. But going back to IS, there's that voice. So that voice is always either a perfectionist voice
Mhm.
or, um, it could be a perfectionist voice, or it could be that voice of you are you're not doing enough.
Yeah.
You need to
Not
do
good.
more.
This isn't good enough.
Yeah, this isn't good enough, or you're fooling them. That's another one, right? You're not doing as much as you are, but people are eating your bullshit. So, haha, you know. So that's another one. So that's the buddy on the side, right?
Yep.
That's that buddy on the side. It's like, hey, good job. People think
Mhm.
you're this shit, and you're not. But then you're like, am I really real? What's going on? So
Sure.
there are those moments that kick in, and the interesting thing is, as you know, I always look up research on things, and it turns out that this is a huge thing for PhDs. People are highly accomplished. They go and get
Oh, yeah.
advanced degrees, right? They're the ones with the most problems with this. But I also see a couple of things. I see that there are some objective pieces of this, and then there's also the feeling. But again, the parenting, you got to go back to your childhood and really analyze your childhood. So, for example, my childhood per se with my dad wasn't. It was ambivalent. It could be, there was great moments of nurture,
Mhm.
but there were also great moments of the opposite. And so that that can only do two things, right? So that can destroy you or toughen you up. Luckily, at the time, I wasn't meta thinking, so I just adapted. The brain
Mhm.
adapted, right? It was like, okay, go here, go here. But I mean, there were moments they're still uh, very present there if I go back and reveal them or uncover them.
Sure.
So and that's the thing, right? When you're a parent, this is the important part. When you have a parent, you have an agenda yourself. Usually, you tend to have an agenda,
Typically. Yep.
and those are the things you think those things are important, the things in your agenda, and you want the kids to kind of have some kind of reaction to your interaction, right?
Yep.
For example, if you buy a certain gift and you think, they're gonna love this, right? And usually that's not the case. Right?
Yeah, they're like, "Oh,
the kid
thanks."
goes, the kid goes like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Right.
uh-huh. So you're like, oh, thanks, and you're like, what the hell's going on?
Right.
So anyway, um, you have to let people experience life, but the voice that comes in always will be, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. So as a result of the problems that my dad had with my brother, I became a project to kind of revive that.
Uh-huh.
So he made me play baseball, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
he made me play baseball, and I wanted to play baseball in some respect. But then we will be practicing or something. He would just force things, and then I started not liking it.
Yeah.
And then it was really, I realized I was being used by the time that he wouldn't show up to games or stuff like that. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, so you're making me do this shit, but then I'm not
Right.
here. And there was the one time where talking about achievements. So that's a big thing because I'm playing baseball, right? And I'm thinking I'm not good enough.
Mhm.
He's not
That's the
showing up.
thing.
I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
So that conversation comes on for childhood, and it always comes back. And so everything that we do here and I do, right? That's a negative connotation of it, right? So like, man, I need to really this that. So the phrases are always, and I try to. I'm old enough now that I recognize it and try to balance it out. But those phrases are always I have to,
Mhm.
right? I need to,
Yeah.
I need to. And sometimes you gotta be like, I don't need to do shit. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I
So
don't
so
have.
when you
Yeah,
have those voices and they're saying that you're not good enough or you need to do this,
yeah,
how do you cope with that? Like do you have techniques that you put into place, or what do you do that helps make it better?
yeah. So I create another voice, and that voice comes from me, and that's been an exercise.
Uh-huh.
It hasn't been easy, but it's been working. So I hear the stuff that I'm saying, and then I put I put another voice to it.
Yeah.
and now another voice comes in and goes, you know, it's gonna be all right. You have
Yeah.
another day. Every day you wake up, you can do something different.
So it's that positive self-talk
Yeah, the
that
world's
you're
not gonna die.
implementing.
It's
Yeah.
first of all, the world's not gonna end, right? And the one rationale that always comes back that I bring back and it helps is like, when you're dying, if you were told you're dying right now,
Yeah.
if you're told, hey, you got 30 minutes, figure out your shit because you're dead in 30 minutes.
Uh-huh.
Is this gonna matter?
Yeah.
Is it gonna matter? And my answer is always no.
Yeah.
It's not gonna matter because my first thing is gonna be where's my family
Sure.
or my kids, right? And
Yeah.
so,
And where's my coffee? Sorry. I just
yeah, well, yeah, coffee. Yeah,
That's
coffee's a
also
good
in there
one.
for me.
Well, yeah, if we're gonna go there, there's many other things we're gonna have to go after. But maybe put it in the coffee. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think there's different ways to cope with things, and I've been lucky enough. The humor has been one of those,
Sure.
right? The ability to laugh at things.
Mhm.
The ability to laugh at things. But I also know that if I go touch the feelings that are sort of covered or protected, right, from the sad moments or the impactful moments,
Mhm.
then I can also go the other way around. But I've been lucky that I've been able to use the humor. Laughing at yourself is probably one of the best things
Agreed.
that you can do.
Agreed.
Um, Here's a story that if I tell it, some people will go, "Oh, wow, ooh," but in other respects, it's others, and it's a cultural thing too, in a sense of how to recover from it. So I remember what the roughest times when my mom left to the states, here to the states, and I was in Venezuela back with my dad. Um, that was a rough time because my dad now had to deal with me, being 12, 14, stuff like that. And so one time he used to really take time to cook. He always
Mm.
loved cooking.
Mm.
And I actually learned how to cook because of hanging out with him at that time. Um, he always had this very martial way of doing things, right? So, hey, do the shit, do this. Hey,
Yeah.
go do that. And I guess that's what you get some of that where it's like, you told me in some areas, you're abrasive. Like, well,
I've got to tell everybody that I told you that.
it's a direct instruction. Well, I love you and I love open communication.
Uh-huh.
So here's the thing. Uh, he asked me to go get a chicken breast, or I guess chicken. So what I heard was chicken, right? Hey, go get some chicken, and there was a specific style, Milanese chicken or something. I guess from Milan, some prepared chicken out
Oh,
of a
okay. Yeah.
store.
Yeah.
Now this is back in for all the Gen Z people and all the millennials, right? This is before Uber or Uber Eats. This is way before Walmart.
This is when we used our feet to do things.
Now this is where you had to go to different places to get
Right.
different stuff.
That's true. That's
So
true.
yeah, this is where you had to go to the butcher to get meat, and then go to another place to get whatever. So in this place, I'm going to a butcher to go get this chicken. So when I first of all, there's no Google Maps either, right? So he gives me
Mhm.
directions. I've never been to this place, so I go find a place. So I find a place. I ask the guy, "Hey, my dad wants this. You're as a kid, you're struggling with this stuff, or you have some kind of note." And I told this guy, "Hey, I got my dad wants this and that and that." So this guy that's in the store, he's like, "Yeah, whatever." So he gives me a full chicken. He gives me a chicken. He gives me
Like a
like a
live
whole chicken.
chicken? A live
No,
chicken?
no, a wrap,
Oh,
like a whole chicken
yeah,
in
yeah.
a
Okay, okay,
plastic,
okay,
right?
okay. Phew.
So a whole chicken in a plastic, right? Plastic wrap chicken. So I was like, okay. So I go take the chicken back, and I have to walk 15 minutes back and forth, right? Because it's walking. I get to the place. My dad was highly stressed, and those times, I guess, because he was working, he was coming back to cook lunch and then live or whatever. I mean, honestly, he didn't have to do all of that. And now that I think about it, going back, it's like he could just be like, "Yo, eat a sandwich and some chips, have fun, work."
Yeah.
But he would just come back and cook. So I was like, "All right." So I came back with his chicken, and boy, was he pissed because it was the wrong thing.
That's not what he wanted.
Oh, it was completely the wrong thing. So what I was supposed to get, now that I it's funny because I'm telling you the story. 2 weeks ago, I was walking by a Publix, which is a supermarket here in Florida,
Yeah.
and I saw the damn chicken that I needed to get.
You're like, "Oh, that was it." That's pretty funny.
Exactly, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. It's like it's funny and it's sad. It's funny, but it's funny. But
Mhm.
no, the funny part is okay. Well, sad and funny again. Like I said, depending on who hears this. Um, I come back with this chicken. I'm thinking, okay, I got it. Right? I'm thinking, I got it.
Right.
Here it is. And he is just livid. He's pissed off. What the? Yeah, right? And I was like, oh shit, right? So he's like, you know what? I told you to go get the. So I'm like walking away from the apartment. He throws the freaking chicken at me, like the whole chicken,
Oh my gosh.
and hits me in the head with it. All right. So like, okay. So I get that, and I'm like, I remember the traumatizing moment,
Mhm.
right? Afterwards, like when I went to the stairway, we used to live in this condo place. I went to the stairways. I was sitting there. My teeth were shattering. My teeth were
Oh.
like shaking violently.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember that moment. I remember that feeling. And then I had to tell myself, okay, you gotta compose yourself. Come back. Let's go. Right. So there's always been that. It's always
Sure.
been that. Hey, all right, good. Take your 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Show goes on. Let's go. Right. So then I grabbed the chicken. I went over and I gave the fucking guy hell.
You're
Like the
like,
guy,
"This is not the right thing."
this is not the right thing, man. I just got hit in the head with a chicken. you know. So it's like so he's like, oh, Melanie, oh, and so yeah,
Yeah.
so those are things. Yeah, there's nothing right about this, of course,
Sure.
um, and that's something I wouldn't do to my kids, of course. But like I say, I'm breaking a cycle that that they are. I realized today, and I'm still in touch with my dad today to some extent. Well, now it's WhatsApp, right? But he hasn't gone there. He hasn't gone to find out what was the. And I'm pretty sure there are worse stories than
Yeah.
whatever I experienced. So in my case, my kids live my kids live in Wonderland every day or
Yeah.
Disneyland,
Of course
in
they
that
do.
situation. And so for those reasons too, right? Because of the things that I have endured,
Mhm.
then that creates a problem for me because it creates a problem of me being able to recognize that you're having a hard time because you can't complete an assignment or something,
Sure.
right? Because I'm going like, yeah, there's worse shit in life.
Sure. Yep.
So like, where do I
You
pull from,
you have
right?
you have high standards, high
Yeah,
standards.
and so
Yep.
those problems become also imposter syndrome in that sense because I'm putting these high standards on myself, and I know they are not there all the time. And it's a good thing for the interesting part is that the imposter syndrome can actually be great for learning
It
because
can. It drives
because
you.
right, because it drives you, because you can be like, oh, this is not good enough, this ain't shit, let's go, we I have to do something else. I can't. So you can take two routes to this, right? You can succumb to it, or you can recognize it and then can use it for your advantage, which at times I've been able to do, and other times I don't. But what I've been lucky about is that I'm able to say, I'm able to create this confident voice again, right? So the confident voice that says, you know, are you going to care when you die? Are you? So if you're not going to care when you die, you can fix this, and we can sleep it off, come back, right?
Yeah.
Look at it a different way. Take a break, take a walk, right? Um, Sit in a room, don't think about anything,
Hmm.
take a break, and really see it for what it is. And so there's a lot of people out there that are faking the funk too, and and that's fine. I think at any point we are imposters in some way.
Hmm. I would agree. So, uh, what would you share with somebody who is experiencing imposter syndrome, like right now? Would you share with them?
Change your focus. Focus on the things that you have really done, and then think about what it took for you to do those things.
Hmm. That's good
Then you
advice.
realize that at any point you have to go through this phase of being an imposter for some perspective or another. Um, you can't, nobody learns in a vacuum, and you have to see the experience in somewhere else. But develop a way of, on knowing your experience. What is your experience in this situation?
Hmm.
So why are you feeling this way? Are you feeling this way because you're really not accomplished, or are you feeling this way because perhaps you haven't put in the actual work that is needed for it? I
Yeah.
mean, quitting is easy. That's the easiest path, right?
Yeah.
Letting it go and quitting is easy. Striving for something and struggling and putting in the hard work and getting up whenever you need to get up and doing all that stuff, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's gonna that's hard. It's gonna just tear to your core. It's gonna but it's like anything else. When you break a bone and it
Hmm.
recovers, it gets stronger. So you have to rip a little bit and let it heal.
Yeah.
So if you have an ass right now, let it heal. You have to you have to heal it. You have to see it in a different lens too.
Yeah. I think that's
Yeah.
good. That's good. That's good advice. So, last question for you, Alex. Why did you want to be part of this imposter syndrome project? What made you say, "Hey, I want to tell my story"?
I think it will help a lot of people because you know I think uh, I think many people have a wrong perception of me,
Mm,
and that's based on either rumors or just because the way I look or whatever the case.
because you're
Um,
because you're bald with a beard. You think they have a bad, wrong perception of you?
yeah, I should wear a Mexican hat, maybe that help.
Maybe.
But no, but yeah, I think it helps because we're all human. We all have similar. We're all in this together. First of all,
Hmm.
whether you believe in the Big Bang or the Creator, um, We're traveling. In all respects, we're traveling. We're traveling in the universe,
Mhm.
rotating, right? And we're traveling ourselves in the paths and what we do. So I think why did I want to do this? Well, I wanted to do this because I appreciate the project and the time you're taking on this. And like I say, it's a good way to also deal with things. And for example, I sometimes may create the situations that will give me ass. So calling myself the chief of awesomeness, right,
Yeah, that'd give anybody imposter syndrome.
sets a standard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's like I'm the chief of awesomeness. Oh,
Ooh.
yeah, so what am I doing? What am I doing that is awesome?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's yeah, that's the thing. But I think you have to have that. It has to be part of life.
Yeah.
It has to be part of life because otherwise you'll get comfortable.
Mhm.
And if you get comfortable, you die.
Yeah. Or at least you stop growing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's
Well,
what I mean.
yeah. Of course that's what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um well, thank you. We're so grateful that you shared your story and that you were vulnerable. So, thank you so much, Alex.
I appreciate it, Betty. Thank you.
If you like this series and you want to show support, go to buymeacoffee.com/ifyouaskbetty to learn more about how you can support this and future If You Ask Betty projects.